We have an article here at cryptidchronicles.tumblr.com, and it begins, Atmospheric Beasts are the strangest of the flying monsters, from Cryptozoology. According to eyewitness reports, they are things that seem like living creatures. One of the most famous atmospheric beasts is the Crawfordsville Monster. The Crawfordsville Monster is the name given to an unidentified flying creature that was allegedly sighted in the skies of the small town of Crawfordsville, Indiana, in 1891. Some contemporary cryptid resources list the Crawfordsville Monster as being a serpent or a dragon. Others label it an atmospheric beast. The story of the monster was first published in the Indianapolis Journal in September of that year, and was later picked up by the September 10th issue of the Brooklyn Eagle. It has since become part of local folklore and has been investigated by prominent anomalous phenomena investigator Charles H. Fort. Much of what is currently recorded about the creature comes from interviews conducted by Vincent P. Gaddis, a journalist working in Crawfordsville and a member of the Fortean Society. Gaddis contends that the monster was a living creature and not a mechanical UFO. Quote from Vincent Gaddis, "All the reports refer to this object as a living thing. In other words, one of the hypothetical atmospheric life forms that would figure in early theories about UFOs." There have been two reported sightings of the Crawfordsville Monster, both during the 19th century. The first allegedly occurred at 2 a.m. on the 4th of September, when the creature was seen circling a local house before flying away to the east, returning sometime later and then flying out of sight. It was witnessed by Methodist pastor Reverend G. W. Switzer, his wife, and two men working to hitch a wagon. It was this sighting that was initially reported by the press. The second sighting occurred on 2 days later, in 1891, when the atmospheric creature reportedly flew over the town and was witnessed by over 100 people. Descriptions of the creature vary, with some accounts suggesting it had no head, and others describing it as having glowing red eyes and hot breath. Accounts generally agree that it is a large rectangular creature, possibly eel-like in appearance, with several undulating fins down the sides of its body. It was estimated to be 20 foot long and 8 feet wide. Witnesses at the second appearance described the creature as writhing and squirming, and as producing a wheezing sound, as if it were in pain. The case of the Crawfordsville Monster was investigated by Charles Fort, who first encountered the story in a September 10th edition of the Brooklyn Eagle. At first, Fort believed witness Switzer to be fictitious, but ultimately he came to find him and correspond with him. Fort included references to the creature in his 1931 book, Lo. L-O. Lo. This is at mysteriousuniverse.org. It is entitled Atmospheric Monsters Attack. The anonymous author begins, "Atmospheric monsters are bizarre and seemingly impossible creatures. These sky-bound beasts soar silently above the human race, defying the conventional laws of physics, and their origins and intentions remain one of the most perplexing and fascinating mysteries in the realms of both ufology and cryptozoology. Most intelligent individuals would readily concede that the oceans of the Earth have yet to reveal even close to all of the mysterious beasts that dwell in their vast depths. Some scientists have suggested that there are nearly 1 million undiscovered species lurking in the briny deep, while others insist that the number is a good deal higher. But while scientists have no problem accepting that the seas are chock full of as yet unidentified life forms, they reject the idea that the ocean of air above our heads might be just as full of unique and currently unclassified species. Current scientific figures state that our atmosphere extends approximately 621 miles above the planet's surface. According to the mathematics done by minds far in advance of my own, the volumes of Earth's atmosphere in cubic miles is, and I quote, a big, big number. Now let's take this frankly overwhelming figure and compare it to the square miles of water said to be a big blue orb we call home. Again, according to mathematicians, whose work I can only accept at face value, we're dealing with the not insubstantial sum of 140 million square miles. Even as a non-numerical mind, as the one I possess, can see that the difference is tremendous. So if we are to concede that the ocean harbors scads of unknown life forms, how can we ignore the same potential in the vastly more expansive heavens above? So-called atmospheric monsters have been with humanity for centuries. Descriptions range from vaporous cloud-like beings to air whales and air krakens, to translucent floating jellyfish that dip in and out of clouds with no visible means of aerodynamic propulsion. There are also the oft-debunked multi-winged rods or skyfish, and airborne man-eating superamoebas, and airborne man-eating superamoebas, and even a one-eyed, flipper-bearing headless dragon. Some are said to be gargantuan beasts, which have been incorrectly identified as flying saucers, and others are so small and swift they can barely be perceived on video freeze frames, much less with the human eye. It has also been suggested that, much like animals that dwell in pressurized depths of the deepest ocean trenches, many of these atmospheric animals are unable to survive on the surface of the Earth. Some even believe that the gelatinous star jelly, so often found following meteor showers, may well be the decaying remains of these ostensibly invertebrate beasts. Perhaps falling stars and other earthbound debris strike these creatures in mid-flight, tearing them apart with the force of their impact and sending them hurtling to the ground in unidentifiable hunks. I think they mean chunks. Hunks are somebody different. As unidentifiable chunks. Origin also remains a point of contention between supporters of the existence of sky monsters. That is, whether or not we are dealing with alien entities of unknown extraction or creatures indigenous to Earth. Most supporters believe that wherever these beasts come from, they are non-self-aware animals that live their skybound lives reliant on instinct rather than intellect. But of course, they could be wrong. Famed author and paranormal investigator and famous cryptozoologist Ivan T. Sanderson was so enamored with the idea of these sky beasts that he mentioned the theory in several books. He even speculated that numerous UFO accounts might actually represent extremely low-density animals native to the clouds. Sanderson was not alone in his belief in atmospheric animals. Even celebrated cosmologist Carl Sagan got into the act when he proposed that some kind of astrobiological, balloon-like beast might be soaring through the skies of massive gas giants such as Jupiter. Though it is doubtful that he ever speculated one or more of these creatures may have found their way to Earth. In 1975, pioneering UFO author Trevor James Constable proposed in his book The Cosmic Pulse of Life that the flying saucer phenomenon was likely not an example of extraterrestrial technology, but instead of colossal amoeba-like creatures that dwell in the Earth's atmosphere. He colloquially dubbed these theoretical animals critters. Constable further proposed these critters spend most of their time in a virtually invisible low-density state. But when they increase their density, possibly while in search of sustenance, otherwise known as food, these odd life forms become visible. He also believed that the use of radar devices in the 20th century somehow disturbed these sky beasts, forcing them from their usually concealed state into a more perceptible one.